We are strapping into the digital hot seat today because we are diving deep into what is really the defining threat of the modern age: cybercrime.
It really
I
is.
mean, if the last century was defined by industrial output, this one is all about information.
Yeah.
And, wherever there's value, crime is not far behind. The internet didn't just create a new marketplace, it created a whole new, often anonymous breed of offenses.
That anonymity is key.
So just to set the stage, when we say cybercrime, we're talking about offenses, sometimes singular events, sometimes these massive ongoing operations that involve the theft or destruction of information, resources, funds, you name it, all using computers and networks.
Right.
It's a huge area. Our mission today is to unpack the, frankly, terrifying speed of its evolution, categorize the four main types, and then, and this is critical, reveal the truly astounding costs and the global effort it takes just to keep up.
And you mentioned speed, which is exactly the right place to start. I mean, to really get the gravity of the threat today, you have to appreciate just how fast this all happened. This wasn't a slow burn.
Not at all.
No. The source material breaks it down into three distinct generations. The first was, way back, the illegal exploitation of those giant mainframe computers, think 70s, 80s.
Okay.
Then the second generation came with networks in the late 80s and 90s. That's when you start hearing about individual hacking and cracking. But the third generation, well, that's what we're living in now. And it's all about the abuse of the global internet.
We're talking malware, criminal enterprises.
Exactly. Sophisticated, coordinated, high-level attacks. It's a whole different ballgame.
And that third stage is why we're doing this deep dive. It's where the four major categories we're focusing on really came into their own. So let's start where most crime starts.
Following the money.
Following the money. The first category is cybertheft. At its core, this is about using cyberspace to defraud people for, quick profits. What's so interesting to me is that it's often not a new crime. It's just using new tech to commit old crimes like larceny and fraud.
But at a scale that's just unimaginable before.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack some of the ways people are actually turning this tech into profit.
Right. And it starts with something pretty basic. Computer fraud. This is just a common law crime, but done with digital tools. A perfect example that kind of bridges the physical and digital world is ATM skimming.
Ah, I've heard of this.
Yeah. Criminals put hidden devices on ATMs to steal your card data and your PIN. So the theft is still physical cash, but the fraud that enables it is completely technical.
And then it gets purely digital.
It does. And that's where you see pure extortion. I mean, think about ransomware. It's just extortion, but over the internet. And it's an incredibly effective business model for criminals. They lock down a company's entire system.
Or just your personal photos.
Or just your personal photos, yeah. They encrypt the data and demand payment, usually in crypto, to give you access back. It's gone from being a nuisance to a full-blown industrialized threat.
And beyond just stealing and extorting, there's that huge gray area of intellectual property. We're talking illegal copyright infringement. The sources bring up this concept of juarez, which I think is fascinating.
It's a whole subculture.
It is. It's where offenders illegally get software, then they have to crack or rip the copyright protection, the digital locks, and then they just post it online for free.
And of course, file sharing just blows that up globally. Suddenly, everyone can download music, movies, anything without paying royalties. It's piracy on a global scale.
And that profit motive, it scales all the way up to the financial markets. We see internet securities fraud, basically using the internet to intentionally manipulate the stock market for profit.
And the internet just changes the game there. It lets them do it lightning fast to millions of people at once. We can break it down into three main types. You have market manipulation itself, sure, but you also have fraudulent offerings of securities, just outright scams.
Like a fake IPO or something.
Exactly. And then there's the classic illegal touting, the old pump and dump scheme. Perpetrators hype up a worthless stock online, drive the price way up, sell all their shares for a massive profit, and then just watch it crash, leaving everyone else with nothing.
That's manipulating systems.
Yeah.
But let's shift to a more personal risk, identity theft. This is huge. Using the internet to steal someone's information to, say, open new credit cards or just operate anonymously.
And the techniques have gotten so sophisticated, most people know phishing, that generic scam email.
Right.
But now we see spear phishing, which is incredibly personalized. It targets a specific person or a company to trick them to giving up their login details. And to launder the money, they often need a human element. That's where money mules come in, people who transfer the stolen funds between accounts.
They're adapting old cons, too.
Absolutely. Traditional phone scams have migrated to your phone, but in a different way. We have smishing, which uses text messages, and vishing, which uses voice over IP calls. It all shows that criminals just prioritize anonymity and scale. We should also mention e-tailing fraud, where they use stolen credit cards to illegally buy and sell merchandise online.
Okay, so that covers the massive profit engine. Now let's shift gears. Let's move away from quick cash and toward pure malice, or distributing illegal services. This brings us to our second category, cyberdeviance.
Right. Cyberdeviance is all about distributing illegal goods and services online.
And this is where the IT revolution really showed its disruptive power. The sources cite some staggering statistics on how it revitalized the porn industry: over 98 million search hits for porn, 216 million for XX. What is it about the IT revolution that had such a dramatic impact there?
It's really about two things: anonymity and accessibility. The internet just removed all the old barriers to entry and distribution. It made it so much easier for illicit content to find consumers and for criminals to operate outside of any one jurisdiction.
And the darknet plays a huge role here.
A massive and very concerning role, especially in the distribution of child exploitation material and other highly illegal services. But it's not just that. Cyberdeviance also covers things like e-hooking, where prostitutes use websites for marketing, and crucially, the distribution of dangerous drugs, both illegal street drugs and controlled prescription drugs sold through darknet markets.
So if cyberdeviance is about illicit services, the third category moves into pure destruction, cybervandalism. Here, the motivation is totally different. It's not about profit. It's about revenge or ideology or just causing chaos and damage.
Exactly. Technological destruction. It can be anything from a simple disruptive virus all the way up to a massive attack designed to destroy a critical computer network.
And this is where we get into the whole ecosystem of malware.
That's right. And it's worth knowing the different types. You have viruses and worms, which are mostly designed to just disrupt things or spread like wildfire across networks. But then you get stealthier. A Trojan horse, for instance, looks like a totally benign piece of software.
Like a game or a utility.
A game, a utility, yeah. But it has illicit code hidden inside that's designed to damage your system once you've installed it.
And then there are logic bombs,
Which are maybe the most sinister. A logic bomb isn't like a virus that just spreads randomly. It's programmed to stay dormant, completely hidden, until it gets a specific signal or a certain date arrives, and then it activates and causes massive data corruption. We'd also include website defacement here, hackers breaking into a site just to post provocative messages to embarrass or disrupt.
And this malice, it isn't just aimed at networks. It can get incredibly personal.
Absolutely.
We've seen the rise of these targeted interpersonal digital harms. There's cyberstalking, using electronic devices to harass or threaten someone. And then there's cyberbullying, which is defined as willful and repeated harm inflicted through electronic text. The digital aspect is so damaging because the abuse can follow the victim anywhere.
And we can't forget things like catfishing. Setting up a completely fake online profile to lure someone into a fraudulent romantic relationship. The end goal might be money sometimes, but the intent is really about that psychological deception.
So on the big infrastructure side of vandalism, the goal is often just shutting things down. We hear about denial of service or DOS attacks, right? They overload a network until it collapses.
Right, but that's almost amateur hour now compared to the distributed denial of service, DDoS attacks.
So if a DOS attack is like one person just endlessly knocking on your door so you can't get out, is a DDoS attack like organizing a million people to all ring your doorbell at the exact same second?
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
Yes.
A DDoS uses thousands of compromised systems computers infected with malware, all centrally controlled, to hit that one target all at once. It guarantees a total shutdown. And finally, connecting this all to the state level, we have cyberspying, illegally gathering confidential information. And the sources point out this isn't just hackers, it's private companies, individuals, and governments.
Which is a perfect segue into our final and maybe highest stakes category.
Right. If we take this to the biggest picture possible, we're talking about cyberwar. This is politically and strategically motivated cybercrime. It's far beyond simple theft or vandalism.
The goal here is different.
The goal is completely different. Cyberwar is about acts aimed at undermining the social, economic, and political systems of an enemy nation by destroying its electronic infrastructure. We're talking about attacks on power grids, on transportation, on financial markets. The goal is systemic collapse.
And this shows up in a few key ways. First, cyberespionage, which is basically intelligence agencies hacking enemy networks to steal data. Second, direct cyber attacks on defense industries. And third, cyberterrorism.
Which is where the virtual world meets the physical world. Covert forces disrupting something like a power plant or a water treatment facility. And what's really fascinating is how terrorist organizations use the internet for everything: recruitment, spreading ideology, and especially fundraising.
How are they fundraising?
Through fraudulent charities, setting up bogus companies, even using intellectual property crime to fund their operations. They are fully embedded in the digital financial system, which means they can also launch financial system attacks designed to disrupt online banking and destabilize entire economies.
And while the political threat is severe, we really can't forget the financial cost across all four of these categories we've discussed. The theft, deviance, vandalism, and warfare. This is where the scope just hits you.
The cost is staggering. I mean, just to give you some context, illegal copying of software and media. That accounts for losses near $29 billion a year.
Wow.
Payment fraud adds another $15 billion on top of that.
And for a single company, just one breach, the average cost is around $200,000. A lot of small businesses just can't absorb that. It's an existential threat, which is why the global response has become such a high priority.
The enforcement has had to become global, too. It requires this incredible level of coordination. We've seen the creation of specialized working groups that bring different agencies together.
Like the interagency telemarketing and internet fraud working group.
Exactly. And specialized agencies have popped up, like the Internet Fraud Complaint Center. Internationally, treaties have been signed by over 49 nations to try to improve cross-border investigations. And to combat the state-level threats, you have whole new military structures, like the U.S. Cyber Command and the NSA.
So when we put this all together, what does it all mean? I think our deep dive shows that cybercrime has moved way beyond that old image of some kid in a basement.
Oh yeah, long gone.
It's a complex, tiered structure. It ranges from small-scale fraud like ATM skimming all the way up to global conflict, with cyber-espionage and attacks aimed at destabilizing entire nations. The common thread here across all four categories is the speed, the anonymity, and the scale the internet provides. It just fundamentally transforms everything.
And that speed, that evolution, leads directly to a profound problem for law enforcement that impacts the entire global response. The sources indicate that because the techniques are so sophisticated, it's extraordinarily difficult to tell the difference between damage caused by, say, a brilliant independent hacker and damage caused by a state-sponsored terrorist.
Because they're using the same tools.
They're using the same tools and leaving similar fingerprints. So given the vast financial scale of all this, the question we want to leave you with is this. How does that fundamental ambiguity complicate the ability of global enforcement agencies to effectively target and prosecute the truly most serious, politically motivated threats? That is the challenge facing every nation moving forward.